So my first question is, what do you remember from St. John Chrysostom homily we looked at? I remember the beginning of it was shocking to me. It's not okay. Mhm.
We talked about his first gospel being
The first homily.
the first homily that we shouldn't need the word, is that we should have it in our hearts. We should
Absolutely. That's the most important part, right? Remember that? He said something shocking. He said we should have not needed the Bible. Imagine the Patriarch of Constantinople, one of the fathers of the church, said we should have not needed the Bible. Don't you think this is shocking? Right? And what was his reasoning, Matthew?
we should have be pure enough to talk to him.
Exactly. And I said the example is like the example of
Your father is recognizing in sends you 11.
exactly. What does that mean?
That they're not in a good talking.
There is no communication. It's not his. It's not his problem. We have gone away from him, right? So what if we ignore the letters?
It would be word. Forgot that.
If we ignore the second way of communication, there is no way left to communicate. There's nothing left, right? If I'm not able to talk to God directly and listen to him directly, and I cannot read his letters, then what's left? Nothing. That's what he said. And the other things about the four gospels, and they have and what is his anything about the four gospel? Why need four? Anybody remember? Trying to kind of yes.
So like each one was to like a different reader, like a different audience, but he wrote four like in different times, so like we have proof that it's true. And
Exactly.
Didn't do it together.
Exactly. Okay, that's the next question. Why didn't really be exactly the same? Matthew is exactly the same as Mark, as John, as Luke. Exactly. They came together and just wrote one piece and they agreed together on writing it. But this is because they're different eyewitnesses and it is different perspectives. Each one wrote from their own perspective. So it's almost, that's why we liken the Gospels to the four cherubim, the four living creatures. Why? Why especially the cherubim? What's so special about the cherubim? If you heard me talk about the cherubim before. What's the best thing to characterize the cherubim? The most significant about the cherubim? Eyes. Thank you. Thank you, Joel. So what does that mean? When we liken the gospel to the cherubim, what are we saying?
The gospel opens our eyes to see God
From different perspectives. Very good. So there are four sets of eyes, so here we're going to have 8 sets of eyes, but the cherubim has many, many eyes, not 6 or 8. So this is St. John Chrysostom. And what about, let me ask you this. I want to ask you a question, and I want each of you to try to answer it. This is how we're going to go into studying the New Testament. What would you like to know about the New Testament? I'll give you options. If you're given a choice to study the New Testament, what would you like to know? Memorize it by heart, know the story, understand it. Let's say, and which part of it that you would like to focus on and get the most out? You're gonna focus on one thing. So here we're gonna have to know what the New Testament is made of. So tell me what you think, each of you. If I say the New Testament, what would you like to know about the New Testament?
Books in the Bible.
Okay, we call that, you know the word for it? Canonization. That's a good question. That's a very good question. If it's not there, I'm going to put it there. Why certain books of the New Testament, good job, Anna, were picked to be the Bible? Because there's others that were not picked to be in the Bible. How did they do that, right? Who else? Anthony. Revelation? I see. So you want to talk about prophecy. And what did the Bible say about the future? There's something to talk about that. Okay. Let me write those so we don't forget them because I don't want to forget the important stuff. So one, something about canonization. How do you spell canon? Well, the one with the double N. We said there's, yes. Canon is the reed. One of them is with double N, one of them. So the canon, the gun is how many N's? So you remember that? I said the difference between canon as a gun and canon as a stick, as a ruler. Huh?
How many N's are in the regular tone? It's two.
This is CON.
There's two
N. C.
How many N's? Not C, not like low.
So this canon is the gun. Actually, it's canon. Just like that. But the one I want is one N. Canonization. So the difference between canon and canon is this, the double N. So if I say canon versus canon. So the canon with the two N's is a large mountain weapon. This one with this double N. Please throw this in trash, please. Thank you. Canon. How about take this with you too? This too.
Yeah.
It's just tricky to have all these pins and then none of them is working. Canon and canon. This one is a big weapon. This one measuring reed. Ruler. All right, so what are we talking about? The canon, this canon or this canon? It's canonization with one N. Yes. Canonization is what Anna had. And so this is Anna. How about number two? Anthony said he wants the book of Revelation prophecy. And relationship to now. C? Yeah, maybe no.
It is with C.
It's a CE?
It's DC.
AC, right? To relationship to now. I have something to talk about with that. Okay, how about some other things you want to know about New Testament? Oh, yes.
Not in the New Testament, the book of Maccabees.
Maccabees. I mean the canonical books, second canonical?
I don't really know what they are. I just like I've
10 of them.
Yeah.
Second canonical. You're gonna write that down. Okay. Second canonical.
Is it in our Bible?
Yeah. Who else wants to do something about New Testament? New Testament, please, yes.
Like the books of Paul.
Letters of St. Paul.
Yeah.
What about them? What do you want to know?
I want to understand them more.
Oh, that's what I was expecting for. The letters of St. Paul. You're gonna get a big satisfactory time with that. St. Paul understand. Okay. Who else want to know anything about the New Testament? Anything? Yes.
Going into like, Eastern stuff, like we don't learn more about the death and resurrection of Jesus, like going to every little detail and what it meant.
Okay. So we're gonna talk about
If you take
the passion of Christ, meaning and depth, right? Okay. Who else wants to know something about the New Testament? Anyone online wants to know something about the New Testament that you can write down in chat? Anything else? Okay. All right. So let me just start by saying, how many books in the New Testament? And let's find out, because this is what I want to start with. To wrap your head around the content of the New Testament. So if you get a curriculum, I'm going to give you an advice. Anytime you have a curriculum, get the list of things that you need to cover. And keep it in front of you. You might not really memorize it from the first time. Just keep at it because you don't want to miss anything. You want to get a good grade. So, books of the New Testament. You can divide them like the Old Testament. You can divide them into the books of the law and the books of history and the books of prophecy. So for the law, I have the Gospels. For history, I have the book of Acts. For prophecy, I have the book of Revelation. What is the rest of them? We're going to say books of teaching, which is the apostles, the epistles, St. Paul and the Catholic. How many books we have? Books. Please remember that. Of New Testament. Gospels. How many Gospels? 4. List them. Matthew, Mark, maybe write them down next to each other. Luke and John. What's after the 4 Gospels? Acts, right? And it's one book. What's after a book of Acts? The letters of St. Paul. We call them Pauline letter. We read it on Sunday. We have to read something from the Pauline letters. How many? Everybody knows? 14. Thank you. 14. This one is 1. 14. Less than. Romans. 1st and 2nd Corinthians. Galatians. Ephesians. Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, and Hebrews. I mean, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Some people say the letter to the Hebrews is not written by St. Paul. It goes, one of the reasons they say that, his name is not in the letter. All the letters of St. Paul signed by him. I am Paul. But this one doesn't have it. But the church always maintained the tradition that the letter to the Hebrews is written by St. Paul, and there is certain language that only St. Paul writes in this. It doesn't have to be his name. But since the other 13 had the name of Paul, they said Hebrews is not his. So again, what are the lists made of? 4, 1, 14. Then we have what we call the Catholic epistles. Catholico, right? We have James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, and then Jude. Then the book of Revelation by itself. So how many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 1. Count with me. 4 plus 1 is 5, plus 14 is 19, plus 7 is 26. Plus 1 is, that's the count for the New Testament books, 27. That's the canon of the New Testament. That's it. I made a song for the kids in the elementary. Have you gone through the song before? Yes,
something new.
the books of the New Testament are Matthew, Mark, and Luke. The fourth gospel is John. We're gonna make sure that it's a gospel. Fourth gospel is John. Praise God and thank Him for His words. After the book of Acts come 14 letters of St. Paul. The letter to the Romans. Praise God and thank Him for His word. First and Second Corinthians, Galatians and Ephesians, Philippians and Colossians. Praise God and thank Him for His word. First and Second Thessalonians, First and Second Timothy, Titus, Philemon, and Hebrews. Praise God and thank Him for His words. 7 letters of Catholicon, James, First and Second Peter, First, Second. First and so what is the next one? So oh, sorry, the 3 letters of John, then Jude. We don't want to say Andrew. 3 letters of John, then Jude. Praise God and thank Him for His word. The book of Revelation is the last book of the new 27 books in all. That what it had done is this song is actually give you all the information you need about the books of the New Testament. And it's an overall view, my voice is good on this because I'm going away from the computer. All what you need to know about the New Testament as a list-wise, right? So we have 4 Gospels, 1 book of Acts, a historical book, then 14 letters of Pauline, 7 letters of Catholic, 1 prophetical book. Can we just go over it one more time and then try to memorize them if you can? We're going to do this frequently, and you do it frequently so you can actually know. Especially this list is a little bit difficult. This is the most difficult. That's going to take you a few times to do it. So Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in order, but not the order of writing. It's the order of presence. And we're going to talk about why Matthew is the first one and why John is the last one. Actually, the oldest gospel of all is Mark. That's the first gospel to be written and the shortest of all of them. So Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, book of Acts, then 14 letters of St. Paul, Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrew, and then Catholic Epistle 7, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, and Jude is the last letter, and then the book of Revelation, the last book of the New Testament. Simple? Doable? I think it is. Just get this bird's eye view so that when we talk, you know exactly where we are. I like to keep myself in the bigger map before I go into the alleys and the little corridors of the city. It's just very difficult to think when I don't have the bigger picture. This is the bigger picture. Okay. So we have one question about canonization. How did the books of the Bible, the New Testament, came to be? Why these books are included, for example, and not the Gospel of Thomas, or the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, or the Gospel of Peter Simon? Why? Why these Gospels were rejected while those Gospels, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, is included? Very simple. It's really simple. The simplest thing you can think about. 2 reasons. The first reason, and the most compelling, is that all the churches in the time of canonizing, which would be the 3rd century, 4th century, all the churches have been using those 4 Gospels, not one. They had them, and they had the letters. Every red church you go to, they will be having those. But the other Gospels are Gospels, nobody had used them. They were not used. They were written sometime later. So the first reason is widely spread and widely read in the churches. We go to Raleigh, they find that we're talking about we're in the 1st or 2nd century. of the church. You go to Raleigh, you find them reading the same things. You come here, you find them reading the same things. You go to India, you find them reading the same things. So that means the churches early on recognized those gospels as authentic, real. What's the second reason? They all have unified theology, unified look at Jesus. They didn't get something bizarre. For example, the gospel of Thomas, or the gospel I'm talking about more of the gospel of Barnabas, had weird things written about Jesus that the other gospels never mentioned. That Jesus did miracles when he's little, or he had gone out of Israel to go to India or the Americans or something like that. So there's not consistent with the rest of the gospels. So the four gospels being widely spread, the other gospels were doing something different, right? And the church had rejected those things. So this is not consistent with what we know from the beginning of the church. So what are the two reasons for canonization, Anna?
Sorry,
The two reasons for canonization of the New Testament books.
because they're one is everyone using in the church.
Widely used.
And the second one is that
The other books would have,
was a consistent story.
exactly, we're not consistent with the theology or the way we know about Christ from tradition and from the gospels that we have as authentic. All right, so were there any other letters for St. Paul? Yeah, no, we have it actually documented in one of the letters of St. Paul. He's talking to the Galatians. I think the Galatians, he said, I want this letter to be read in the church of Laodicea, and I want the letter written to the church of Laodicea to be read in this church. We don't have a letter written to the Laodicea in this. But apparently St. Paul had written about the letter that he sent to Laodicea. We don't have. So some letters, authentic, written by the apostles, but it's lost. We don't have it. So there's two types of groups of excluded books. Books that's authentic but not included for some reason, and books that are not authentic and they are floating around and the church also did not include. Got it?
Do we know all of them were mushed together?
They have, like, for example, one of the greatest sources you go to is St. Athanasius. He had a list in one of his letters to the church. Now, our Pope sent us a greeting on the feast. He used to send them written. So one of those letters of greetings have a list of the books that he kept as his canon. Which year is that? 300, 40, 50 to the middle of the 4th century.
They just like went off of the same, and they just.
The fathers of the church, those are who is Athanasius? The Patriarch of Alexandria. He's the Patriarch of the Catholic Church. There was a Patriarch for the Syriac Church. There was a Patriarch of the Roman Church, the Church of Rome. And they all had similar lists. Okay? So we come to prophecy. I have something to think about and for you to think about it. Now, in the book of Revelation, it says no one at one point when the Antichrist comes will be able to go to the grocery store and buy or sell anything unless they have the number of the beast, which is 666. It's very weird because all your credit information, anybody's credit information is made out of 18 numbers. Made out of 3 sets of 6. 666.
You have a credit card?
It's not the credit card. I'm not talking about credit card. It's your in a way your trade ID in the system. It's like a serial in the system. It's made of 18 numbers in 3 groups of 10. This is very, isn't it? But not only that. Now combine AI with cryptocurrency. Now, if they push everybody to use cryptocurrency, which is no paper, no banknotes, right? If this is the case that you're not going to have any kind of paper dollars or hundreds of thousands in your hand, and everything you own is just numbers on somewhere in the internet, and you have access to it by passcodes, and there's AI floating around that can control all that. What do you think is going to happen? We don't have money. We don't have cash money, right? So I have no control over money. The control is somewhere in the internet. Now you want to go to the grocery store and give him your credit card, or you type in your digital number, whatever you need to do to buy, and all of a sudden say, no, your number is blocked. Why? The system doesn't like you. So I'm gonna hunger. You're gonna push me to die of hunger? That's it. Do you see this coming? I think I see it coming. It's coming. It's coming. If the system doesn't like somebody, they will die of hunger and thirst, basically, or they live off like weed and grass. That's it. Right? Do you understand? This is a part of the Book of Revelation stuff that's coming. It's coming. And then they're pushing everybody to expose themselves because of fear. Now, since 9/11, what happened to the towers? You go to the airports, you are searched. Nobody bags were opened or scanned. I went through times when you actually take your bags with you and nobody would look into them. They're laughing at me, bringing out branches. Okay. All right. All right. So that's prophecy. I'm going to talk about, so there's some of that. You cannot turn everything in the Book of Revelation into this, but I'll give you a hint. The Book of Revelation, master hint is liturgy. We might need to go there to find out. Actually, this is what the Book of Revelation is about, our own liturgy. The second canonical books. The second canonical books they're found in the Septuagint. You took the Old Testament with me, right? So you know the difference between Septuagint and Hebrew? Or not really?
Not really.
You did do the Old Testament?
No.
You're doomed if you say yes, you're doomed if you say no. So which one you pick? Huh? You did? Okay. So we talked about it in the book. It's part of the Septuagint. It's part of the Greek version. And it had books like Tobit, First and Second Maccabees, the Book of Wisdom, the Wisdom of Sirach. What else books? Judith. We have also, we have 10 books, 10 of them. Okay? So how they became part of the book? Because in the Septuagint, they are part of the Bible. The canonization of the Septuagint happened before the Hebrew. And it was the Bible the disciples were carrying with them. So this was part of the Septuagint. We didn't put them on top of the Hebrew. The King James and New King James is the Hebrew Bible, which people had done. Anybody remember when was the Hebrew version, we call it the Masoretic, done by Masoretic scribes? When was it finished? When did they finish this? The Hebrew origin of King James or New King James.
They lived in a desert by themselves. They were organized.
No, we're not talking about them. These are the Essenes. You know, I'm talking about the Masoretic scribes, which were either in Babylon, or some of them lived somewhere else. So when was the Masoretic text? I'm not bringing rabbits out of my book, so don't be expecting things like that. Okay? Huh?
Like a Mary Poppins bag. These people are bringing them.
Yeah, it's only leaves and verse. Okay, so let me know. When do you think the Masoretic text was finished? No, that's not when this
8th
is.
century, 8th,
Huh?
8th, like.
Yeah,
8th.
they finished by 900s, like the first by the millennium, 1000 AD. So much later. The Septuagint was written 300 years before Christ. So our copy, and this is what the disciples had used, the second canonic. All the quotations, you know what's correct, quotations or quotes? There's no such a thing as a quote. Quote is a verb. You quote somebody, but the noun of it is quotation. So the quotations of the Old Testament are all from the Septuagint. There's actually a quotation from the Second Canonical too. Right. So the letters of St. Paul, and then we're going to come to that, and the Passion of the Christ will come to that. I don't think we can give it enough, right, by saying something very quick on it. Okay, so let us go into what we need to see. I'm gonna put this on the screen. These are all letters of kids. I didn't read them yet. Sorry, I mean.
That's okay.
Let us look at what we have. Go ahead.
Reading second, third John, and John from the Gospel.
This one, the first one is a gospel, the story of Jesus. Yeah. Gospels are the story of Christ, talking about his memoirs, what the disciples remember about him. The letters are teachings. It's teaching books, like something about warnings or something that the disciples want to say to certain church. Let me go to the
Saint John.
Hmm?
Saint John.
It's same St. John. How many books St. John wrote in the New Testament? So Paul wrote 14. 4? 5. Revelation. So the gospel, 3 letters, and Revelation. So how many books Luke written? How many books St. Luke wrote? 2. What are they? You guessed it. Acts. Sure. How many books St. Paul wrote?
50.
Where's the Gospel of Paul? 14. How many books St. Peter wrote? 2. Very good. How many books St. Jude wrote? And Matthew. About Mark. About nothing. Okay. Huh? Many have many ideas. The most bizarre one is the one who said it was Priscilla. Some people think it is Priscilla, the wife of Aquila. It's Priscilla. Aquila and Priscilla were 2 good friends of Paul. So apparently they think she was very clever that she wrote the book, but because she's a woman, they didn't want to put her name. It's a feminist way to look at the New Testament. Anyway, let's go and talk about historical and geographical. This is a little review of the Old Testament. You see that? Is it clear? So you remember this? We started the Old Testament with this map, the same map. What do we call that? You see the map? Uh-huh. Very good. What did you remember that? I read it through good. The Fertile Crescent. Why does it looks like a crescent? Hmm?
Why is it a crescent?
No. Why is it called that? Because it looks like a. So it's called the Fertile Crescent because it looks like a crescent and it is green in a desert. The rest of that stuff is desert, right? Why are these areas green? What causes the green? Yeah, where is the water coming from? What's about here, which is the side on Egypt? The Nile. What about this area? Euphrates and Tigris. Okay? So between those 3 rivers, we call that the Fertile Crescent. This is the first civilization ever. Rest of the world is nomadic people. They plant where our rains, but no one who had a stable supply of water year round and can cultivate things like those two places. So you have certain civilizations, and the first before anybody else, it was the Egyptians. Egypt was the first civilization. And then you might say, this is important. You might say that the the um, the Chaldeans and the Sumerians preceded Egypt, and you might be right, say that. But the one that has left a lot of monuments for us to study was Egypt. But then after that, the first organized empire. And what do you mean by empire? What's an empire? Imperialism, what's that? So imagine Marina trying to take over the group. That's imperialism, right? Like everything has to be done by her order and her dictation, and everybody had to obey or else, right? That we call that a worldview. That's a worldview. Have you taken for worldview in comprehension? No? Worldview? The set of belief? You didn't? You have no idea? So, like when a president of a big country goes and kidnap another president of another country, put him in prison, and run his oil business. What do you call that? I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just saying, what is that called? Power, right? I have power. So you say, why did you do that? I have power. Is that okay? I'm just asking a question. I'm being recorded, by the way. It's okay. AI, I just told you. AI. I know I'm not comparing Marina to someone. So basically, that's the idea of imperialism. An empire like Assyria will get to take over little kingdoms, and there's no reason for it to happen except that they have the power. That's it. So you're gonna have at least, so let's count them together and in this order. And they grow up in those fertile areas. That's how you get people to unite through agriculture and then setting up systems of irrigation. Architect, they get civilization. They have written language and they have made the cuneiform letters. They're very advanced. Then you can do weapons, you can organize armies, you can pay for them, huge armies compared to the small kingdoms around. So you have them in order. I'm going to take Egypt out. So I'm going to write it here, Egypt. What's the second one? I'm going to start from here. Assyria.
Wasn't Babylon first?
No. Second is Babylon. The third, no, wait. So Assyria, Babylon. What's coming after that? Persia. Thank you.
So where's New Babylon?
This is two kingdoms. It's two kingdoms.
So who ruled between Babylon and Neo?
The New Babylon is the empire by Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar the second is the one who established the New Babylon.
Yeah, but there was the first one with
The first one was small kingdom under Assyria.
Oh, that was first.
Yeah, but it's not an empire.
Okay.
So a smaller kingdom under Assyria. All right. Persia. What is number 4? Greece. And then number 5. Huh? Rome. Roman. You understand now? This is the first empire. Empire. I said imperialism meaning taking over everything. If you have the power, go and conquer the world. Right? So that's Assyria, Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. Just remember those names because that's exactly what we have studied in the Old Testament. In the time of Assyria, Israel were wiped out. Gone. Gonna make that in red. Israel is gone. What's left? You say it's Israel. What do you mean when that during the time of Christ? No, there was two kingdoms, Israel and Judah. Judah remained because they had a big weapon, Isaiah. And Isaiah prayed to God, and God protected Jerusalem and Judah. Judah is a smaller kingdom. This kingdom was divided from the big Israel in the time of the son of Solomon, Rehoboam, was divided. So, but Israel, Assyria took over and destroyed completely, wiped it out. Nobody knows where they're gone. Literally, nobody knows what. There were 12 tribes, 10 of them were here, 2 is here. Those 10 was gone. Nobody knows where they are. They melted and disappeared in the rest of the world. You, most probably, I don't have any doubt, have some of your ancestors from here. Every single, what did the Assyrian used to do? Assyria had a very, very wicked tactic. So to destroy the identity of a country, like say for example, I want to go into Matthew's family and make them doesn't exist, but I'm not killing anybody. So I take Matthew.
You see it going first.
You have a problem with those. Maybe you need to be head. He's a prophet, no? Jonah knows that you need to be head. Jonah is a prophet. Okay, so Matthew, Assyrians will take Matthew and put him in Siberia. We take his credit card, his license or ID, take his passport, and make him nobody. And he goes there to work for his food. That's it. He doesn't have a phone. He doesn't have access to newspaper or TV or anything. What will happen to Matthew? He will find a peasant girl over there, marry, have his own family, the poor thing, and live like a farmer, Russian farmer, like the rest of the people, and become what? Russian. The Assyrian, no, the Assyrian would not marry him to an Assyrian girl. They would take him to Siberia and have him marry a Russian girl, and then what? He's assimilated. That's the social studies, or you call it the sociology terminology. Assimilated. What does assimilated mean? Becomes part of the Russian culture, and that's it. Done. They take his sister and send her to the Amazon in the tribes, where she lives with the tribe, and then she will marry one of the Amazon Indians, and she would have a family from them and become what? Assimilated into the Indians. They take Jonah and send him to China, right? To China, and he would have a wife from the Chinese. What happened to this family?
They're all like themselves.
Assimilated in different cultures. So what happened to their identity? Gone. Completely gone. This was the Assyrian, but they didn't do it to individuals. That's not easy. How they did it? Families. They take one family, they take a family from this village, take a family from this village, put them together. They don't know each other, have no relation to each other, and send them somewhere. Take another couple of families, send them another place. What happened to Israel? Can anyone bring them back? Absolutely not. Because by the time you realize you need to bring these people back, what happened to them? They are, exactly. We have the second generation, which the second generation is already part of the new culture. If I take you back to Egypt, how would you feel? And say, okay, good luck. Go back to Egypt. We want to have you work over there. You don't have the language. You don't really have anything in common with them, maybe except your DNA, and that's it. So, okay. So what did the Assyrian do? They did this to Israel. But what's left? Judah. What happened to Judah? Judah continued the legacy of Israel. I'm joking. They continued the same problems of Israel, and they were exiled in the time of Judah. I'm going to make it like this. So I'm going to have to, what does that mean? They're not canceled. They're what? They're exiled, and they're going to come back. They come back after 70 years. So number 70 years. That's Jeremiah. Jeremiah is the one who prophesied. You're going to spend 70 years. Where are they going to spend 70 years? The Judaizers. In Babylon. Who was part of this? Who was part of this exile? You know them. Who went out to Babylon? And there, Nehemiah came back from Babylon. So coming back. Very good. But he is part of the people that went out. Yes, yes, the names are good, actually. Nehemiah is good, but I'm trying to think of the earlier group. Who went out? Huh?
No.
Huh? Daniel, thank you. Who is with Daniel? The three holy youth, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, or Ananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. Who else went with them? Ezekiel. Who came back? Nehemiah, Ezra. Who else came back? Many people came back. Zerubbabel. These names were in the 70 years exile. And after Babylon was conquered by, what's his name? The name of the king, huh? Cyrus. Very good. Cyrus. So this is Nebuchadnezzar. This one is Cyrus, who began the Persian Empire. Nebuchadnezzar II began the New Babylonian, which became an empire. There's a difference between kingdom and empire. Kingdom is people in their own, realm. They're not interested in expansion, taking over. But an empire is, by definition, expansionist. They want to expand. They want to take over the world. You think Alexander the Great would have been happy settling down at Alexandria or Greece and just minding his own business? When this happened, he died. He actually died from depression, 30 years old. Could be. So Cyrus, and this one is Alexander the Great. This one is Julius Caesar. Okay. Let's read about them quickly. So those are the empires. That's empires. I'm not talking about kingdoms, empires. Actually, the least aggressive of them was Egypt, but that's why we're not mentioning it. All right, so let's go and read about them. Who wants to read? Matthew?
The five major empires that ruled the Middle East. The Bible takes place in the Fertile Crescent in a lush green strip of land stretching from the Nile River in Egypt and the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in the east, Mesopotamia. It was the birthplace of early human civilization. Over the centuries, five massive empires ruled this area. First, the Assyrian Empire in 722 to 721 BC, they conquered North Kingdom of Israel. They forced the Israelites out and moved different ethnic groups in. These new people became known as.
It's better to say those English-wise. Let me just type out.
Second, the
Okay, so what am I trying to do here? Be with me. What am I trying to do here? What's that related to the Old New Testament? How is it related to the New Testament? Quickly. Why is this piece about the Assyrian moving in? I told you they send groups of people different places, but they did the same with other kingdoms they conquered and brought them in to occupy the North Israel. What's that to do with it? Why we need to know that? This is more important than actually the piece of information I'm giving you. Right? But what is that? How is that related to? What's in this piece of information related to something in the New Testament that I need to know? Huh? Yes. There's many places of mentioning Samaritans in the, give me examples. That's why is this important? The Samaritan woman, which we're going to celebrate tomorrow in the gospel. So you want to know her background, that's her background. If you want to know that piece of history that illuminates your mind to understand where they come from. What else? In the New Testament, give me another example. One example is not enough. The good Samaritan, right? So when you hear those things and you don't know what that means, it's it's good or it's better to have a piece of information about their background. So what happened when the Samaritan came back? What did happen? I might need to write that. The Samaritans had combined worships because they're coming from different backgrounds. Everybody brought their deity with them. And in addition, they added the deity of the land, which is Yahweh, the God of Israel. So when Jesus talks to the Samaritan woman, said, at one piece in the Old Testament, it's written in the book of Kings. And they talk about the Assyrians, what they had done. He said they brought five gods with them from different places. Hint, hint. Let me read this for you because I want to add that too. Let me just read it with you so you can know exactly what I'm talking about. So when the Assyrians had done this atrocity and they brought other people, they brought other ethnic groups. They brought with them 5 deities. Any hints? 2 Kings 17. Let me go there so we can actually have, okay, so we have some things to go over. It's important that you get that stuff. I think it's extremely important. So we're looking into 2 Kings 17. Let's read that part. How did the Assyrians deal with this? So that says, in the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, Hoshea, the son of Elah, that's the last king of Israel, by the way, the north. So Judah had a king, Israel had a king, became king of Israel in Samaria. And he reigned in 9 years. Samaria is the capital. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the kings of Israel who were before him. Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, came up against him, and Hoshea became his vassal. He united with him and paid him tribute. That means you pay a lot of taxes. And the king of Assyria uncovered a conspiracy by Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to king of Egypt, and brought no tribute to the king of Assyria. He stopped paying the taxes and started aligning with Egypt. Egypt and Assyria were not really, they're big powers. They were not really friends. Therefore, the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Now the king of Assyria went throughout the land and went up to Samaria, besieged it for 3 years. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away to Assyria and placed them in Hala by the Habor, the river of Gozan, and the cities of Medes, different countries. For so it was, the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, who had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and they had feared other gods, and had walked in the statutes of the nations from whom the Lord had cast out. So, what happened? I want to make sure that we get to the end of it. Then the king of Assyria brought people from Babylon. Listen, this is it. Brought people from Babylon, Kutha, Ava, Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria, instead of the children of Israel. And they took possession of Samaria and dwelt in its city. And it was so that the beginning of their dwelling there, that they did not fear the Lord. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which killed some of them. So they spoke to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations whom you have removed and placed in the cities of Samaria do not know the rituals of the God of the land. They're being eaten by lions, the foreigners that came. Therefore he has sent lions among them, and indeed they are killing them because they do not know the rituals. Imagine the atrocity, people coming from different places, sitting in a new land, and now lions are going through their houses, eating them. That's horror. So they sent to the king of Assyria and said, most probably because we did not respect the God of the land. Let him, so he said, therefore send one of the priests whom you brought from there, let him go and dwell there, and let him teach them the rituals of the God of the land. Then one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel, the place where Jacob saw the ladder, and taught them how they should fear the Lord. However, every nation continued to make gods of its own and put them in the shrines on high places which the Samaritans had made. Every nation and cities where they dwelt. The men of Babylon made Sakuth. That's one. The men of Kuth made Nergal. The men of Hamath made Ashima. The Avites made Nabhaz, and the Tartak and the Sepharvites burned their children in fire to Adramelech and Anamelech, the gods of Sephir. How many? So the last ones were giving their kids as burnt offerings to the idols. So when you hear about the 5 husbands of the Samaritan woman, what a good reader of the Bible say? He's not talking about husbands. What's he talking about? You're not me. I lost you. Did you get this part? Can you say something about it? Maybe your friends will listen. Me. So what does this say? You don't understand? So forget about the names. I'm talking about the count. The Assyrians have brought 5 groups, like I told you. He took the people of the Israel, send them everywhere, right? And then bring 5 groups from 5 cities, from 5 destinies, and put them in their place. What these groups had done, they brought their own, and some of them is horrible practices like burning your son for one of the gods. So you have 5 gods worshipped in the land of Israel. And this is why God was very unhappy with them, and the lions started to eat them because they're doing something in his holy land. So what did they do? Send us a priest, they said to Shalmaneser, the king who brought them here. We need a priest from this land to teach us how to deal with Yahweh. So he came and he found out that they're actually doing this. How many gods they were worshiping? 5. So now, when you hear Jesus saying to the Samaritan woman, what does he say? You have 5 husbands. And now the one that you have is not yours, meaning that even now you're not able to worship God, right? Yes. That's the meaning for someone who understands the background. You got that? That's why I'm putting this piece here to understand this is not put for torturing you. That part from this, we said, new people became known as the Samaritans. I want to write that down. So what should I write? The new people brought with them, what should I write? The worship of 5 gods with a small g. I'm going to put them in quotation. We understand this piece here? So this is what Assyria had done. Keep in mind, this is what happened in 722, the last king of Israel, and then it's gone. Now, the Babylonian Empire defeated the Assyrians in 557. We're going back, right? King Nebuchadnezzar II. I'm going to write it second here. The new Babylonian king destroyed Jerusalem and forced Jews of the southern kingdom to exile. And this one, who was included? The exilee included who? Exactly, Daniel. And I would say Ezekiel. And the 3 holy youth. All right. The Persian Empire, King Cyrus the Great defeated the Babylon. So everybody defeats the one before them in 539. How many years? Maybe 50 years after. He was a tolerant ruler who allowed the Jews to return to their homeland and rebuild their religion. In his time, the second temple of Zerubbabel. It's maybe double R or double B, was built. They call that the second temple. The first temple is Solomon. The fourth empire, the Greek Empire. Alexander the Great took over in 331. After his death, a later Greek king named Antiochus IV tried to violently force Greek culture onto the Jews. A brave Jewish family of priests called the Maccabees fought back using guerrilla warfare, means no army, no, just a group of people go on and ambush the armies of the Greek, kill whatever they kill, clean the area, and go back and disappear. So it is listen to this, the background where the Pharisaic movement began. That's where they come from. The Roman Empire conquered Israel in 33 BC. They put a man named Herod the Great in charge of the area. So those are the empires, and every one of them has to do with our New Testament. Assyrian with the Samaritans, Babylonians with the stories of Daniel and the three holy youth. The Persian Empire with the Second Temple that Herod will renew. The Greek Empire with the rise of the Pharisees. We took that in the Old Testament. I'm just giving you a refresher. And the Roman Empire is what we see. Should we pay taxes to Caesar or not? Why do you pay taxes to Caesar? Because we are under the rule of the Roman Empire. We are not Romans, but we are a kingdom of Israel, and we have a king. Maybe he's not from David, but we're a kingdom. But we're under empire. That empire we have to pay taxes to. And this is the times here, right? So here is the places. Persian Empire here. The Assyrian is in Nineveh, capital. And this is Persian is Shushan. The Babylonian is Babylon. The Greek is actually Alexandria. That's why I don't like it. This is from Nelson Maps and Charts. I don't think it's right. So he made Alexandria as his capital. And the Romans is Rome, but we don't have it here. The first century Middle East and Europe, by the time the New Testament begins, the ambitious Roman Empire ruled the known world. Augustus Caesar, who is Augustus? Was Augustus. That's his name, that's taken name. What was his name? A little bit of history, world history. Who conquered Antony and Cleopatra? Huh? Antony was conquered in Octavia. What's it called? Actium. Actium is near Alexandria, Abu Qir. What is the name of the person who conquered Antony and Cleopatra? Octavian. Thank you. That's his his given name, but he called himself Caesar Augustus, and he named the month after himself. Augustus Caesar became, so I'm going to write him here, Octavius. Now you know history. Okay, so Octavius is the name, Augustus is the title. Emperor, and ordered the famous census that caused Mary and Joseph to travel to Bethlehem where Jesus was born. That's how we come in history. And these are the Roman emperors. Augustus, Tiberius. Tiberius will be in the time of St. Paul travels. Augustus in the time of Christ, early times. Then Tiberius, then Caligula, then Claudius, then Nero. So those four. Nero is the one responsible for the martyrdom of Peter and Paul. He would behead Paul because he's Roman, and he would crucify Peter. The order came from him, from Nero himself. Before them, in the book of Acts, you have those people here. Claudius is the one who actually asked the Jews to leave Rome. He doesn't want any Jews. And that's why Aquila and Priscilla that we talked about left Rome and went to and met St. Paul in Corinth, the city of Corinth. That's why you're going to read about them. You read about these people and how Claudius actually kicked the Jews out in the letter to the Romans. I'm sorry, to the book of Acts. All right. What I'm writing here, you will see in reading the New Testament. If you want to have the keys to understand, please, this is the minimum you can have. I don't think I can make it shorter than that. All right. So let's do that. And next time I'm going to ask you some correspondences here. Good. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Irini. Where is Sarah? Used to answer. Let's see. Yeah, Sarah's here, but she's silent this time. Hi, Sarah. She hears me. Okay. Hi, Abun. Good. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's say our Father. You guys square the let's say thing. Our Father who art in heaven, on earth as it is in heaven, give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Christ Jesus our Lord. So out of all this, what do you want me to test you next time before we begin? What do you want me to test? So I'm gonna encourage you and push you to study something. Which one you want to be pushed to study out of the things that we've done today? Either the big list or the history, the 5 empires, or what is the link between the empires and the New Testament? So which one you want me to test you on? Which one will be more interesting to you? They're all important, but I'm asking, I'm gonna pick one. The empires, okay, and their relationship to the New Testament. Because this is what you're gonna use, right? I would say this is the one that's important for the New Testament. So what is the Assyrian to do with the New Testament? We got that today. What is it? They created the Samaria. They created the Samaritans. They are the one behind the Samaritan woman and the Good Samaritan, which the Jews hated. Okay. Okay. So what about the relationship between the Babylonians and it's Daniel, right? Daniel, they created Daniel and Ezekiel. What is the Persians? The second temple, right? They allowed the temple to be built. So maybe I will follow Joya since you didn't give me specific answers. I will do all